Hello everyone, Shinto Bean here, playing some more Warhammer combat cards. In this video, I'd like to talk about the strategy I use when upgrading my cards, which is a very important part of the game. And you may disagree with some of the things I say here, so if you do, let me know in the comments. I'd be very curious to hear what other players take into account when upgrading their cards. But for me, it comes down to a couple different things, and I'll try my best to address them all in this video. Number one, I prioritize Warlords. I upgraded all my Warlords as much as I can, with a few exceptions. For example, Boss Zagstruck, upgrading his trait to the next level does virtually nothing, so there's not a whole lot of point in upgrading that. But for the most part, you'll see that I've upgraded all of my Warlords as much as possible. So the next thing that I prioritize is high cost cards. We're talking about the points cost here. So you'll notice here in my Servants of the Emperor roster, all of these cards have been upgraded as much as possible. But as you start to go down, there are cards that are not upgraded to the max that start to appear, and as we go further down still, more and more of these cards appear until we reach the lowest point cards, which almost all of them have not been upgraded. And there's a good reason for that. First of all, you don't get as much per upgrade for these low cost cards because you get a set number of stats per upgrade. Let's see if we can find a good example here. Take this thing for it has a health upgrade where it gains plus 8 health, which in other words you get 4 stats per upgrade. For the damage upgrades it would get plus 4 ranged attack, plus 4 health, which is not very much. But compare that to going back up to the top. Let's just go with the Lehman Russ. So this thing gets quite a few more stats per upgrade. It starts off very weak. The Lehman Russ at level 1 and 2 is pretty terrible, but as it levels up it gets much stronger, and if you get a high enough level it can become a centerpiece, a very powerful part of your deck. And so you want to prioritize the cards that are your main damage dealers. Those things you definitely want to get the most out of, and that's why I've upgraded these things so much. Another thing that you have to take into account is the role that the card plays in your deck. If it's a main damage dealer, then you're going to want to upgrade it. Whereas if it's cannon fodder, there's really not much point in investing a lot of coins in it. Take this guy for example. Is this guy supposed to live a long, healthy life and slay many enemies in battle? No, he's just supposed to block a lane, get himself killed, and that will activate the Warlord's special rule in many cases, and that is his role. So, giving this guy lots of extra damage and health is counterproductive. There's no point in doing it. And in fact, the only reason that I've leveled it up to 6 is because it used to be that you had to level commons to level 5 before they unlock their trait. As another general rule, you do want your cards to have their traits unlocked because that can really affect their performance. Now, fortunately for newer players, they made a change so that rares and common cards only have to be upgraded to level 2 before they unlock their first trait. So, yeah. Cannon fodder, not really much point in upgrading. With a few exceptions, you'll see right here, this one is at level 10. And there's a reason for that as well. It's because its trait Medicae can potentially heal massive amounts. If you deploy this thing next to your high cost cards, your high health cards, you can get a huge amount of healing for the very low cost of 4 points, making this a very effective card in those situations. So this one is definitely worth upgrading in my book. But these other guys, upgrading something with precision shot, if it's only 4 points, you could spend, potentially hundreds of coins on this card, and it would only deal a handful of, 4 more damage or something. It's really not worth spending coins on. And I also just never use this card. So, yeah, these things at the bottom, really not worth spending a whole lot of coins on. And, eventually you do get to a point where you just do not have enough coins to upgrade your cards. Right now, I think I have over 200 different cards that could be upgraded because I have so many duplicates of them, but I just cannot because I don't have the coins. So you really have to be smart about how you spend your coins on these upgrades. And now that they have the card shop, this is another thing you can spend coins on. So currently in today's card shop, there is nothing in here that I need. Not to say that these cards are bad. I mean, some of them are quite good. Like the Annihilation Barge there, it can be very powerful. So if you are just starting out, you might want to get some copies of that, perhaps. But for me, there is nothing in here worth spending coins on when I have so many cards that need to be upgraded. So I only buy things from the card shop if there are cards that I really, really want, like legendaries and sometimes epics. So that is what I take into account when upgrading my cards. So Warlords and high cost units, your main damage dealers, those are the ones that I prioritize the highest. Also, sometimes, I do like to change things up. I like variety. So sometimes I will upgrade cards that I don't use as often just because I feel like using them. Or maybe, they are useful in the current campaign or something. So I do that on occasion. But as a general rule, yeah, that is the strategy I employ. So let me know what you think and what you take into account when upgrading your cards, if you do things the same way that I do or differently. Let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. And after I finished recording that video, I remembered one very important detail for lower ranking players who are just starting out. At the beginning, upgrading your cards gives you experience, which then allows you to rank up faster. So upgrading your cards is actually a very important process of progressing in the game. And because the upgrades are very cheap at the beginning, you don't have to worry so much about what you upgrade. You can just upgrade away, and that will allow you to progress further. But once you get to a point where the upgrades start getting more expensive, start costing more coins, that is when you have to start being more careful about what you prioritize when upgrading. So that was mainly what I was talking about. It's more for once you've reached that point where you don't have enough coins to upgrade everything. Alright, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay, one final note. I promise this is the last one. Now, I've heard rumors. I don't know if this is true, and it's been so long that I can't really recall from my own experience, but I've heard that if you rank up your cards, or if you level up your cards and thus progress in your player rank too quickly, that can get you to start getting matched up against higher level, more powerful players. So I've heard of players that were intentionally not leveling their cards up so that they could continue to be matched against lower level players, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's actually the way it works, but if anyone knows anything about that, please let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to see if that strategy actually works. Okay, that's it for me. Promise this is the last time, and I will see you next time.